So, I privated my old videos recently because my mic was terrible, making a note to myself to remake the AI one because it's one of the good ones. I ordered a new mic and I have to say it's a fun experience. I'm used to ordering cheap ones all the time. Buying tech has always been like gambling to me. I get the package delivered, I'm slowly opening it and with all these questions in mind like, is it gonna last? Is it good? Is it even gonna be intact after delivery? And not one of these I can get a clear answer to before I've already made the decision and paid for it. I just make a choice somewhat based on available info, the one that still remains random at best. And life is full of little gambles like this, so I wonder what makes them so attractive. Okay, I got this. I mean, surely I get the 5 star at this point, right? Like, there's no way I lose this. Come on, come on. God damn it, I am so dumb. Hmm, maybe I should just pay a little bit. I mean, it's such a good offer. Come on, it's such a good price. As widespread as gambling is today, it's easy to know that it's deeply rooted in politics and consequently more widely to philosophy. From a religious standpoint, gambling is of course viewed as sinful, but I won't comment on that as it's a completely separate topic. Stoicism, for example, has gone fairly popular and, as expected, widely misunderstood. One could see Stoicism in letting go what is out of your control, one of the core tenets of this philosophy, in the context of gambling, except I would add that context is necessary, and in this one, you would be the one actively deciding to put yourself in a situation that is not only out of your control, but also against the odds. And I fail to see what is stoic in actively seeking those kinds of situations, knowing that the betterment of the self should be at the core of stoicism. Gambling could also be viewed as a form of hedonism, one where addiction is prevalent, and in the context, it's important to ask what the role of free will is in all of this, and is individual responsibility possible? If it is, to what degree and how important is regulation in order to prevent negative effects of addiction? Uh, but I think, no, I hope that most of us will agree that people can be psychologically predisposed to addiction and lack of self control, in which more than hope for the individual responsibility is necessary. In order to understand what decisions are correct or not, though, we need to know what the effects of gambling really are. First of all, it's important to ask, is gambling addiction an actual disorder? And the answer is yes. Gambling addiction is currently the only behavior addiction the DSM-5 recognizes. This stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the 5th edition. And the logical following question would be, is it related to other disorders? And the answer would also be yes. An estimated of 96% of people with gambling problems have at least one other psychiatric disorder. Substance abuse disorders, impulse control disorders, mood disorders, anxiety disorders are particularly common among people with gambling problems. It is important to note how open and available gambling is these days. From gacha games to loot boxes to even some forms of real life gambling, many people are increasingly exposed to a form of gambling at an early age. People in their 20s are the fastest growing group of gamblers. This is slightly concerning considering how widespread gambling ads are and how available it is. Talking about ads, you might have noticed in one way or another what incredible sums of money are poured into advertising gambling. How these ads essentially turn profit is not by making a big group of people gamble a few times, but by making a few people addicted to it, turning their addiction into profit for incredibly long periods of time. In general, the negative effects of gambling mostly concern those who are predisposed to it, but the more accessible gambling is, for example in video games, the more easily people find themselves spending huge amounts of money that stacks up over the course of playing the game. Even if said gambling is free by default, the opinion I got from asking some friends is split between 1. Just enjoying the gamble, 2. Seeing it as free rewards, setting aside the fact that it could just be obtained in a different way, which could lead to 3. Eventually spending money when something the player wants is the reward from the gamble. Now, the most important question that remains is what makes gambling so appealing? Thrill is one way to describe the uncertainty of gambling in the face of a possible big win or loss. The anticipation of the possible good outcome is the main suspect in this case. It's related to the release of the so famous dopamine, which is mainly related not to the reception of the reward, but the anticipation of it. If a mouse knows it will get cheese at the press of a button, it will most likely press it. If it knows it might get cheese from the button, it still will press it. We can make a really good comparison with shorts that are so common in social media. I assume you're not a fan of every single short you get once you scroll down. They are based on an algorithm catered to you, but that doesn't mean every single one you get recommended down the line is a perfect match. Still, you will keep scrolling based on the anticipation of finding one that makes you laugh. Social media and gambling both exploit that sentiment, which stands at the core of what makes it function. The illusion of control consists of overestimating the result that our behavior exerts over uncontrollable outcomes. Available evidence suggests that an important factor in development of this illusion is the personal involvement of participants who are trying to obtain the outcome. The results of an experiment regarding the illusion of control were that those acting more often to obtain the outcome developed stronger illusions. Essentially, the more people are involved in something, for example in a gamble where their chances are unpredictable, the more they are likely to overestimate their ability to control those random chance events. The illusion of control is further reinforced by the occasional wins that the player experiences. These wins create a psychological connection between the player's actions and the positive outcome, reinforcing the belief that in their abilities. To top that off, a tactic you'll see in almost every form of gambling is the constant reinforcement by seemingly random rewards to keep the player engaged. When the player experiences intermittent wins or near misses, their desire for the next win intensifies. This form of conditioning reinforces the player's view that they are closer to winning and increases their desire to play. Studies have shown that near misses activate the same brain regions associated with actual wins, triggering a similar dopamine release. Gambling, like any activity, also has a social aspect to it that can itself act as reinforcement. Whether you gamble together at the poker table or you flex the rare character you pulled on your gacha game, there is definitely some appeal to be found in the interactions that form around gambling. The first time I entered a casino was definitely memorable. I had rarely seen a place so deeply separated for the rest of the world. Not even a trace of sunlight leaking in there, no windows, just artificial neon lights, red carpet, and all the noise from the machines filling the room. Similarly to video games, gambling in its many forms can be a form of escapism, and of course this is temporary escapism can be just as therapeutic as it can be addicting. Aside from voting in favor of regulations regarding gambling, I believe the first step is understanding it. Its appeal and possible dangers it poses is the first important step to take. It's such a universal phenomenon at this point that there is almost no way to avoid it, so staying informed, making conscious decisions, and showing restraint is really important. Hopefully, one day we'll be able to all enjoy gambling as we enjoy other activities without avoiding risks and the predatory practices of companies that deal in gambling. But until then, I'll just keep waiting for the next character to be announced in my favorite gacha game so I can install it again and start farming, while holding back the desire to bring out my credit card.